Hello everybody and welcome to So Fun for September. The days are getting cooler and we're beginning to set our minds to those holiday projects. And I think I've kind of covered a whole lot of holidays between Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. I've got projects for everything. So let's go ahead and get started with our embroidery project for this month. And what I brought in was this one called Christmas Coasters, and it is an in the hoop project. And so if you have anything bigger than a 5x7, you're going to be able to make this in the hoop. It's pretty easy. It's a lot of embroidery though. So basically what it tells you to do is it tells you to lay a piece of batting down and then a piece of fabric, and then it does all of the embroidery. The penguin actually has an applique sweater on him, and he has an embroidered snowflake on it, but I found this really cute kind of velour fabric that has snowflakes on it, so I skipped over that part. You can always do that if you want to do it. And then after you've done all the embroidery and everything, you take your hoop off, you flip it over, you put tape down another piece of fabric, and then it goes ahead and finishes the edges, and you end up with these really cute little coasters. I do have to say that because the wash away stabilizer is literally between the layers, you have to rinse it a lot. So I had to put this in some nice warm water and give it a good soak before it finally laid as flat as I wanted it to. I also did this little Santa Claus. This does not have applique on it. It is complete embroidered. The beard and everything is completely embroidered, but I think he came out really, really cute. So I really liked this project. And remember, you don't have to make Halloween, where did I get Halloween from? You don't have to make coasters out of this if you don't want to. It does have Santa Claus, an owl, a penguin, and a raccoon in it that are really, really cute. But later on in the presentation, I'm going to show you where I used the penguins on something else. Okay, so I think the next thing that I want to show you is this purse. You remember last time I did So Fun, I did that backpack that was really complicated and crazy. I really liked the way it came out, and so did my granddaughter, but I thought this time I would do something pretty basic and simple, and this bag is exactly that. It is called the Cooper Carryall, and it is a nice big bag with a nice big inside, so it doesn't really have a lot of stuff on the inside, except for the pockets are completely covered with little tiny pockets on it. This part here is open with additional pockets in it. It shows on the pattern, which I have managed to lose, you take your scrap fabrics and you sew them in strips, and then you make a quilted piece to go over cork. So I didn't do it that way. I had been to San Diego to visit family, and I went into a fabric store and I found this beautiful fabric that has different kinds of kind of 1920s girls with different kinds of projects, and I just thought it was a great little craft bag. I couldn't resist the fabric, and so I put it not only on the front and the back, but also on the inside of that. And then the fabric that I put here is just a nice heavy kind of a velour corduroy that I quilted. This pattern is made like any other bag you've ever made before, except for that they tell you to take the lining and cut it a little bit bigger than the outside piece. And then when you fold it and push the lining in, it makes this little edge on here that you can put your snap in. But now that I'm all done with it, I have to say that if I was to do it again, I probably would have cut them the same size, cut some bias binding, and just bound it. I think it would have laid a lot nicer. It also has in the outside part two straps. They do the same thing. They sew one bigger than the other so that it creates this kind of binding look, which I thought was really cool. I did go ahead and pull some nylon webbing through it so that it's a nice, stiff, good, strong handle. And then they have you stitch it down on the sides here. So that makes it so not only does it create that pocket, but it makes it really strong. So isn't that a fun little bag? I thought that was really great, and it went up really fast. I think I made it in an afternoon. Again, that's called the Cooper Carryall. Okay, so the next thing I have to show you, I have to tell you, I don't have the pattern. I don't know what I did with it, and it didn't come in so I could show it to you. But it is by Jolly, and it's called Caroline, and it's a sweatshirt. So the first one I have is this one here, and I'll just go ahead and put her up there. And this is what I was talking about when I said that I had something that I used the penguins on. So all I did was put it in my embroidery software and take away everything that had to do with the mug rug and ended up with the little penguin. And I just thought it was really, really cute. I had some really fun flannel that left over from Scraps that I used for his sweater. And I just repeated him over the front of this sweatshirt. I made this out of kind of like a fabric that I got at the fabric store that's very, very stretchy. So the pattern does tell you to use ribbing on the neck and the bottom of the sleeves. But this fabric was so stretchy that I just went ahead and used more of the same fabric, and it worked out very well. I was able to whip this out on my serger pretty quickly. It has the raglan sleeves and the side seams, and then you put the neckline and you put the ends on the sleeves and you're basically done. So I just thought that was a really cute pattern. Jolly has this in sizes, children's size 2, all the way up to extra large women. So you can buy one pattern and be able to make a sweatshirt for everybody in the family with a Christmas theme on it. So I thought that came out really cute. I can't wait to wear it. It also has options on it for you to be able to make short sleeves, long sleeves, a short sweatshirt, a long sweatshirt, or change the neck. So I made this one for me, and then I made another one in the children's sizes. Let's see. Let's move it over here where you can take a look at it. This little sweatshirt on a adult woman's mannequin, but this is a size 10 children's pattern. So the back of this pattern actually says to choose your pattern according to the age of the child. And my experience is that when you make a pattern for a child, usually if they're 7 years old, you make a size 8 or size 10, something a little bit bigger. I should have listened to the pattern because this one did come out a little bit larger. It really is for a 10-year-old child. We tried it on a 13-year-old and it fit her very well. So they give really good measurements on the back, so measure your child before you start to make this little outfit. But again, I made this out of fabric that I got from Joann's, and it was very, very stretchy, and it was easy to use, and I didn't have to add ribbing to it. I used the same fabric for the neck. Look how cute that little turtleneck is on there. And then there's little pockets that fit in right here that all you have to do is put a little, it has like an interfacing on the pocket, and then you fold it over and you just sew it right to the front. So I was very pleased with the way that came out. This is going to go to a little girlfriend of mine, and she's already tried it on and she loves it. So I thought that was a really nice pattern. Again, very, very fast and easy. If you have a serger, you can sew these things up really quickly, and they always turn out just absolutely beautiful. Okay, so you guys all know that I always have a stuffed animal, and this time I did not get a book with any kind of stuffed little crafts in it. So I thought it would be really fun to have a book that just had really fun appliques in it. This is called Acorn Hollow. It's by Art to Heart, and it's just chock full of different kinds of appliques. She, in the book, gives you some ideas. She shows you some little Halloween bags, some different kinds of pillows and table runners, maybe just little mini quilts that you can hang on one of those little mini hangers, lots of different ideas. But when I started to look at the appliques in here, what I thought about was, wouldn't it be fun to make some placemats? So that's what I did. I just took the appliques that were in there and I cut out I cut them out and I put them on a nice square piece of fabric and backed them with some batting. And then I put them on my Stellaire sewing machine, and I filled in all the quilting in the background with my Stellaire sewing machine. And then when I was all finished with it, I just thought, wouldn't it be fun if I put some embroidery on here? So on this one, I embroidered Happy Halloween. And then on this one, I embroidered Hocus Pocus. And while I had it in the hoop and doing the quilting on it, I thought, you know what? I can put this in my design center and I can create a web and draw a spider. So that's what I did. I added that embroidery to it. And then I glued some little wobbly eyes on there just for the fun of it. I also glued some little buttons on here too, just to add a little dimension. Even her nose is a button. So once you get started with this. I always say that books are just like to inspire you and get you started. And then before you know it, your imagination runs away with it. And you can think up all different things you can add to these for the kids to put on the table during Halloween. This one is a little ghost. Also in the design center, I went ahead and I embroidered the eyes on him rather than doing little teeny tiny applique, which can be a little bit of a headache trying to sew around little tiny circles. So I embroidered those on there, and I embroidered the word boo. And then this last one, I wrote trick or treat on there with an embroidery design that I had. This is Frankenstein. His shirt is a little bit on the bright side, but I think it makes him really cute with a button for his nose. So you can see how much fun you can have. I backed it with some fabric from my stash, and they just came out just as cute as they can be. So also in this book on the back, they have a table runner, and the table runner has acorns on it, and I thought that was a really cute idea. So I actually stuck to the pattern on that and cut it out the way it told me to do it, but I used fabric from my stash, and I just, I used stitch witchery. I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. I use steam-a-seam. I love steam-a-seam. I like it because it's sticky on both sides. You can stick it down and then iron it in place, cut it out, lay it down where you want it to, make sure that it's where you want it because it's very, very sticky and it stays where you want it, and then just use your iron to make it permanent in one place. And then once I got everything where I wanted it to be, I just put this on my Solaire sewing machine and I just stippled like crazy all over it. I didn't do a blanket stitch. I didn't do a zigzag. I didn't do anything on the edges. I just let the steam-a-seam and the stippling just hold it all down. And I thought it came out really, really cute. It's a great little table runner for a really tiny table, which is what I have. So I like that. Again, this is called Acorn Hollow. I just barely even touched on some of the stuff that's in here. So there's a whole lot of really fun things that'll get you through the holidays for fall and for Halloween. Okay, so I also have a book that's called Farmhouse Fresh. And this is a really fun book. I don't know if you know it or not, but one of the things that's becoming really popular is toweling that you can buy by the yard. And we actually brought in some toweling that is sold by the yard that we're going to have in the stores that is really fun. I thought this was very retro looking. It's already hemmed on the side, so all you do is buy how much you need to make what you're going to make, or if you're just going to hem it up and make it into a towel. And we have this one, and then we have this one, which is kind of an old-fashioned kind of look for a towel. And it's an off-white, rustic kind of look, so that one was really fun. So we have those for sale. But one of the things that's really fun about this book is it's got anything from aprons and pot holders to little book covers, all different kinds of things. But the thing that jumped out to me was this really pretty sewing machine cover. And I just thought that was really cute. And because the fabric is kind of off-white and old-fashioned country, kind of farmhouse fresh looking, I went into my stash and I have an entire basket of what they call Civil War fabric that I made a quilt with a long time ago. And I just used that to create this sewing machine cover. It's the perfect size for any of your basic size sewing machines, and you can adjust the size of it to whatever. If you're going to cover a smaller sewing machine or a bigger sewing machine, all you do is cut a whole bunch of 2.5-inch squares and sew them together, and then quilt that with a backing on it, and then go ahead and quilt with the same thing that you're going to line it with and a little bit of batting, the towel. And then you're going to piece it all together. with the seams on the outside. So this looks like I put piping in here, but I didn't. I just put the pieces of the quilt pieces together, and then I bound those raw edges, and you ended up with this really pretty piped look. And then the bottom part of it, again, is just some bias binding that's sewn around it. So that I thought was a really nice idea to use to make something out of those towels with, and I really like the way it came out. The other thing that I used that was in the book was they have these things that they call tiny tubs, and they give you several different sizes, and you can use all different kinds of towels with them, and you can line it with the fabric that you already have. And so this is what I ended up making with this one. And I thought it just came out really cute. Again, I used fabric and batting, and then I quilted it and sewed the sides. And then they tell you to take the corners and sew this little tab and pull them up. Put this tab on it, sew it around, and then that creates these little handles on the end of the bags. And you can make them in all different sizes. I made this one and I made this one, all with the toweling on the outside and then just some of my regular fabric on the inside. And I thought they'd be really great to put towels in the bathroom, or put some shampoo in it, the things that you don't want people to see. Maybe make a little one that you could put brushes and combs and stuff like that in, or whatever that you need some little tubs for. So I thought those were really cute. And while we're talking a little bit about the bathroom and laundry and everything, I thought maybe I'd show you these. These are actually called wool dryer balls, and I've had them in the past before. They are just a ball that's made out of wool, and now they have them in light colors and dark colors. So if you don't want to put the light ones in with your lights, you could put these in with your darks. But they are really great. It's better than a dryer sheet. It just takes all the static away, and it breaks everything up. So those are great little balls, and we're going to have those for you if you'd like to purchase some of those. I'm going to go ahead and put these down here. So I got a little crazy with quilts this time. It seemed like every time I turned around, I had another quilt that I wanted to do. And this was one that we actually brought the fabric in for. It's called Cabin Chills. And it's really fun little houses that are all over the quilt with a white background according to the pattern. And when Mallory told me that she had some fabric for me, I looked at it, and this is the one that we have. It's a panel that has, I'm just going to show you a little bit about the way it comes. It comes in this panel like this that has all these really fun characters that look kind of like seed packs or old-fashioned advertising, and they're all people that are made out of vegetables like pumpkins and tomatoes and onions and peas and all different kinds of vegetables. And when I started to work on the pattern, I looked at the pattern, and the pattern does not have those. These little squares that are on here are a different fabric, but it works really well. So that's definitely what I ended up doing with it. Was I made this little house pattern with it, and we had this great, it's right here in front of me, this great layer cake called Pumpkin Patch that's full of really fun fabric, and some of the fabrics that are in here look like shingles on a house. So I thought that was a great way to use it, and I went ahead and I cut this out. I'm going to move this out of the way here so you can see it. And I made these little houses with it. I did size them down a little bit so that they would fit on this size, and I did decide that I wanted the background to be black instead of white, and I'm not sorry. I think it came out really cute with the black background, very Halloween looking. And then we also brought in some fabric that looks like this, and they're just as cute as they can be. It's a girl that's in a pumpkin carriage, and then she's got all these little vegetables walking around her, walking carrots and walking onions and everything. And I decided I was going to go ahead and border the quilt with those. It actually says Barn Dance October 31st on it. And then just to break it up a little bit, I used this checkerboard pattern, which is a fabric that we carry in the Arvada store. So you could go to the Rocky Mountain Sewing and get that fabric. And I thought that just added to the whole look of the quilt. And so when I got ready to finish it up, I bound it in the same fabric. And isn't that cute? It's just a really fun house Halloween fabric. And these, because the nice big pieces and everything, it went together very quick, and it's ready to be on my couch for Halloween. Okay, so I have for you also this really great little pattern. I knew I already had a pattern for Halloween, but I just thought this was really cute. It's just called Bats, and it's by Cluck Cluck Sew, and it's a very easy to do pattern. It is not paper pieced. It is literally, the directions just tell you to make some flying geese and some half square triangles, and you sew them together and you ended up with a bat. And I decided that what I wanted to do was I wanted to pick a background fabric and then just go through my Halloween stash. I have a basket at home that is just overfull of Halloween fabric, so I was just going to use every single one that I could think of. And I had so much fun making these little bats that I actually made too many. There are 12 in the pattern, and I ended up making 17. So I had way too many bats. So I'm just going to move a couple of these things out of the way. And this is what I ended up with. Isn't that fun? So if you really look at it, mine does not look exactly like the pattern, because I have a flannel board at my house that I put my patterns up on, and I got about halfway through this and I realized I was going to run out of the background bat, the gray fabric, and I'm like, oh, now I got to go back to the store and I've got to buy some more of this fabric. But the more I thought of it, the more I thought I want to use up all the bats I made, which I made too many, and I don't have to do the way the pattern is. There's no pattern police. You can do whatever you want to do. So I played around with it and I lined them up and I did them the way I wanted it to. So you'll look right here, there's a couple of bats right on top of each other. There's a couple of bats that are going different directions than they're supposed to go. But I really like the way it came out. I ended up with 17 whole bats on this, and I didn't have to go buy more fabric. Isn't that great? So it was a really cute and easy quilt to make. And I put some nice spider webs on the back of it. But I wanted to make a comment about the flying geese. So flying geese are one of those things that can be a little bit of a trial to me. I have a friend that we do a lot of our quilting and sewing together, and we decided way back in January that this was going to be the year of the point. We were not going to mess up our points. We were going to make sure our flying geese came out good. So I have for you this really great, it's called the Ultimate Flying Geese Tool. It's by Creative Grids, and it is a great tool. So I have made a flying geese square, and if you take this ruler, it has, if you look at it, it has a thing that says trim 1, trim 2 on it. So that makes it very easy for you to know what you need to do. Then you take the trim 1 and you line it up according to the size that you want this to come out to be. So I wanted this to be a 3x6 square. So I picked a 3x6 square, which happens to be an F. So once I line up the lines here, I trim off this side, I trim off this side. Then all you do is take your flying geese, turn it upside down like this, take your trim 2, put it here, line up, move it up just a little bit here, line it up with the trim 2, and then trim this side and this side. That's all you have to do. And I confess, I probably am not as an experienced quilter as some, and I was a little confused because once I got it done, it did not measure 3 by 6. It actually measured 3.5 by 6.5, and it took me a minute to figure out that's the square before it's sewn into the quilt. So they give you that 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around. And the pattern, the ruler actually shows you that right here. So that's kind of cool that it gives you that little 1/4 inch, and you actually know when you're lining it up on here whether you're going to accidentally sew over your point. If you line it up properly, you're not going to lose your point, which is my goal, obviously, this year. So, and this Bats quilt has a whole lot of half square triangles in it, so it's a good practice quilt for you to do that with. Okay, I have 2 more books that I want to show you. This one is by Annie's Quilting, and it's called One Day Quilts. And I have to tell you that for the most part, that is exactly what it is. It's full of quilts that are one-day quilts. And one of the ones that jumped out to me right away was this really cute one that's called Color Me Happy. And again, I just went into my stash and I found some fabrics that I thought would make great crayons. You do not have to go shopping and buy exactly straight out solid colors. You can use other kinds of colors. What I did was I made mine with all different kinds. I have some batiks in there. I have a little bit of ones that kind of look like they're a solid color, but they've got a little bit of different colors in them. And I thought those were really fun and easy to sew. This went together so quickly. I probably did make it in an afternoon. It's got a little bit of piecing in it, but for the most part, just lots of strips sewn together and a little bit of a flying geese sitting at the top of it. I had this really fun fabric for the background that's got lots of little circles in it in different colors that I thought was really fun to finish this one up. And then I backed it with a fabric that is literally crayons. So that's a really cute little baby blanket if you need something really quick and easy to do. I did put this on my long arm, but I thought I would practice a little bit with the capability of setting up different spaces. So each one of the crayons, if you look at them, has a different quilt fill in them, and then the background is just stippled all over. So isn't that fun? I just really like that one a whole lot. I don't even have a baby in mind for it. And then the next one that I did was also a Scrappy quilt, and it's this one that's called Crisscross Throw. And I have so many different kinds of sports scraps. You know that I've made sports quilts in the past for so fun. I did that Padre quilt for my son, and I did a football quilt for my grandson, and I even had a few other ones that I'd made for my other grandson. So I thought, why don't you use all of the different scraps you have that have to do with sports and just make this up with nothing but sports? And I have to tell you that I have another entire pile of scraps that I've made these squares out of other children's fabrics that I thought I could make 5 or 6 different baby blankets out of this, because that's how fast it goes together. You cut like 5-inch squares, you cut them across diagonally, and then you add the white strip in them, and then you sew it back together again, and you end up with this really crisscross fun quilt. So this is the quilt that I ended up with. It's really fun. It's got all different kinds of football and baseball and different sports teams. Anything I could find that had anything to do with sports, I put in this quilt, and then I finished it with a baseball theme on the back, because my grandson Ozzy is a baseball fanatic. He's really good. He's in Little League, and he's going to love taking that for his mom to cover herself up with in the games. So the last book I have to show you is called Christmas Quilting. And this one has got a lot of really fun Christmas stuff in it. And they put just a little bit of a different turn on some more traditional blocks. Isn't this one really cute? This one that's got these little wreaths all over it. And right in the middle of one of them, there's a kitty cat's head. You could have a lot of fun with that. Make it big or small, add more wreaths. Just enjoy making it. The one that I thought was really fun is called Heaven and Nature Sing. It's your standard star block, but there's 2 different things in it. One thing about it is that every single one of the star points are done in small pieces. So if you've got a whole lot of Christmas pieces, or you've got a jelly roll, which is what I had, or a charm pack, you can cut these little tiny pieces and create these star points. Isn't this fun? This is what I made this from a jelly roll. And then the Christmas trees in the center are actually supposed to be solid white like the background, but I just mixed in some light colored fabrics. So I really like the way that came out. It makes the quilt a little busy, but I really enjoyed making it. Lots of little squares on the inside and everything. And then when I got ready to quilt it, I put it on my long arm and I did a snowflake design on it. But I thought, I've got this big sashing center. Let's see if I can actually pull off doing a edge-to-edge border. So there's little snowmen bordered all the way around it. And it took a little bit longer because you literally have to take the quilt off the long arm and put it back on again. But when you're done with it, you're just like, oh, that was definitely worth it. I really like the way it came out. And then I backed it with just a really plain Christmas fabric because the quilt says it all. I just think it came out really fun. So the last quilt I have to show you is actually made out of this book. Yes, it's called Christmas Quilting, and no, this is not a Christmas quilt. But I looked at this, and this is actually called Little Road to Bethlehem, and it just screamed Star Wars to me. I have a son-in-law. My daughter and son-in-law have been married for 25 years, and I love him a lot, even though he gives me a really hard time about being the old battle axe. I wanted to give him a quilt, and there's a lot of love in this quilt. I'm telling you, all these little teeny tiny squares took me a long time. So every single one of these blocks with the little checkerboard are quilted separately. You make strips of black and white, you cut them, and then you sew them back together again. Every single one of these with the green and the white are made separately in strips and sewn together. And then you have to definitely have a big flannel board, because as you start to lay it out, you want to make sure that every one of these corners turns the right direction to get that kind of a look that the quilt kind of does, where everything following a path. And then I went online and I looked for some Star Wars fabric, and I found this black and white Star Wars fabric I thought went perfect with my idea of doing the black and white checks. And believe it or not, I was at a secondhand store and looking for who knows what, and I ran across this colored Star Wars fabric, which is exactly done by the same artist that did this fabric that I bought. So I got just enough of it to fill in each one of these squares, and I had to fussy cut them, but it just finishes out this quilt really nicely. And I got a little bit carried away when I went to the store and I bought a whole bunch of this black and white. So it just goes everywhere, but that's okay because it's a really fun quilt. My daughter and son-in-law were married on May the 4th, and they have a dog named Chewy, and they have a dog named Princess Leia. So I don't think this quilt is not going to be appreciated in that house. So that was my favorite quilt, and even though it came out really big, I think it was a really great one. I hope you enjoyed what I had to show you today, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you had as enjoyable a time as we did. If you liked the video, hit like, and then make sure that you subscribe to our channel. That way you'll get updates on all of the Sew Fun videos that we post. You can also go back and look at our archives. Megan has put together playlists of all the Sew Fun videos over the past few years. In addition to that, make sure that you have our discount card. It's a great time to get it right now as it's half off, and it gets you 20% off all notions in our stores. Stop by today. Thank you.